Dilks on your left, Corrigan on your right. Amulet Titan, is it Phoenix? Let's do this thing.
Can we get some stats on the last time Dilks has missed day number 2 in a Modern Open?
The last time, I couldn't even tell you. I wouldn't even hope to tell you.
I'm not really into this matchup from the Is It Phoenix side.
I don't think it's good for Is It Phoenix, even though we just lost. Well, I guess Ross barely lost in his match to Carter Newman.
We just call that. We just call that losing around here.
Oh,
there's no barely lost.
That's what you do. Barely.
There's losing and then there's losing, but it took more time.
Ah, I see. Radiant Fountain into Amulet. That's why Dilks is at 22. Now he'll play a Gemstone Mine. 3 mounting counters on the land. Down to 2. This is an Ancient Stirrings for Matthew Dilks. He'll take a look at the top couple of cards. Bajuka Bog, Tribe Scout, Amulet, Boros Garrison, and Azusa. Lost but Seeking.
Just takes the Is It Phoenix deck a lot of time to get anything going on the battlefield, and the clock isn't that fast once it is going. I think that this build that Lowe's box is on this weekend might have a slightly better shot because Pyromancer's Ascension into going infinite could be fast enough, whereas the nickel and dime Arclight Phoenix game I think is never going to be good enough.
I agree.
But it still seems like a very challenging matchup.
Dilks with a second Amulet on the battlefield now, so he's going to do some pretty crazy stuff next turn. I think we're going to see Abe start things off with an Opt, and he will. So he will take a look at the top card. That becomes the bottom card now, and now he'll draw. Picked up a copy of Noxious Revival. Let's see what comes next. Steam Vents enters the battlefield untapped. And now there's a Faithless Looting. So Corrigan's going to draw 2 cards. He'll be discarding 2 cards here momentarily. But the shields are down.
Well, game 1, they're kind of always down.
True.
Is It Phoenix might have some interaction in the ways of bolts and gut shots or even something like surgical extraction, but counter spells, game 1, that's not really a thing.
Looks like a Noxious Revival will be played now. That's going to put Serum Visions back on top of the deck. That's your 3rd spell for that Arclight Phoenix, and Dilks is going to fall down to 19. All right, Matty, show us what you can do, my friend. Hive Mind in hand, among other things. He will start with an Ancient Stirrings. Wonderful Nick Miller has just informed us that Matthew Dilks, Amulet Titan Master, has only showed up to 2 Modern Opens and has top-8'd both of them.
It's a good rate.
Looking for a little 3 for 3. He's pretty good at this whole Amulet Titan thing. He's going to go with Gemstone Mine. What that is, it's not a bounce land. He's just going to play Gemstone Mine.
Still on the hunt for that.
Yeah, rather modest. Pass the turn back over to Corrigan. Corrigan's got to be feeling pretty happy about that. Got to take a 3rd turn here. Not facing down Titans or Hive Minds or anything of the sort, so he'll kick things off with the Serum Visions. He'll draw a card. It's an Arclight Phoenix. He'll scry 2. Both those lands are headed to the bottom of the deck for Abe. That's an island. That's his land for the turn. Next up is a Thought Scour. He'll target himself. 1 and 2. It's a land and a Pyromancer's Ascension. Draw a copy of Scalding Tarn. And 3rd is a Faithless Looting. And 2 more cards. Lightning Bolt among the cards in hand now. Time to discard probably 1 land and a Phoenix. Get back another Phoenix and get in here for 6. Dilks down to 13. Dilks needs a bounce land. Dilks needs a bounce land. Dilks has a Teleria West. That's sort of a bounce land.
I mean, he has the resources. He can transmute with it. But he loses the Gemstone Mine in that scenario, and it doesn't get him up to 6 mana this turn.
He'll play a Teleria West that'll enter the battlefield untapped. Get a little bit of mana. Looks like this is going to be for 3. T-West. T-West for a Simic Growth Chamber.
So he's ready to go next turn.
If he gets a next turn.
Well, 13 is sort of a magic number here because Phoenix typically deals damage in increments of 3. So it requires 5 cards, essentially. 2 Phoenixes already count. So you're looking at 2 more bolts / Arclight Phoenixes and a gut shot, or 3 of the aforementioned cards. Not easy to do.
You won't find a gut shot here, folks.
No gut shots in this list.
Nope. Dilks deciding what land he wants to get here.
Yeah, I guess once you're all in on Pyromancer's Ascension, you really don't want to be playing random one-ofs.
And Team Lotus Box is very much in on Pyromancer's Ascension. He's going to go get a... wow. So he's going to get Summoner's Pact instead of Simic Growth Chamber. Okay. Interesting. I'm a little surprised, but he knows this deck far better than I could ever hope to. And he'll be passing the turn back over to Corrigan. Corrigan will untap. Not as explosive of his hand as Matt was hoping for, I'm sure. As Corrigan's drawn another land, he'll kick things off with a Serum Vision, so he'll draw a card. He's found a Thought Scour. Scry 2. Opt among those cards. Here for Abe. Faithless Looting as well. Can Dilks get the job done next turn? That is the question. Because it's going to have to be next turn. Corrigan doing a little bit of math here.
Yeah, even Hive might not be good enough if Corrigan doesn't cooperate by playing a spell into Pact of Negation.
Yeah, Dilks might have to do it himself. Don't know if he's going to have the capabilities of such a thing.
Well, that might be the reason to get the Summoner's Pact. It's a 0-mana spell for next turn, or it's something to roll up with the Hive Mind. You need something proactive. And then hope to just spike, a lot of lands, get him there for next turn.
Dilks' hand right now, for the record, it is Hive Mind, Summoner's Pact, Pact Negation.
Yeah.
Those are 3 cards he has. So he has to peel Bounce Land here. He peels a Bounce Land, he should win the game.
Yep.
But he's put himself in a position to peel Bounce Land, or just a land that enters the battlefield tapped. So, if it was a Bojuka Ball, I guess, thing.
Is there any way for Corrigan to worm his way out of it if he has a Manamorphose on the upkeep?
I don't think so if Matt stacks everything correctly.
Okay.
Because there are 2 packs. Noxious Survival among the cards. Oh, man.
You just dome one of his cards in Dilks' graveyard here, right?
If Abe knows to do that, which I think is really interesting.
Well, the problem is that the Teleria West leads to a bounce land.
No, the Teleria West leads to a bounce land and just a kill. Because Teleria West enters the battlefield tapped, so there'll be 2 amulet triggers.
Yeah.
Float, that's 2 mana plus the other 4. So
if you're
6.
playing around Hive Mind, if you're aware of Hive Mind as the threat.
Yes. And then if you give Matt one of his 2 Ancient Stirrings, he's almost certainly
That's a
gonna
lot
find
of looks.
bounce.
Yeah, that's a lot of looks at it.
Yeah. So I actually don't think there's a card to dome. And I think that's what Abe might be thinking right now, is I don't think there's a card to dome with the Noxious Survival to put back on Dilks' deck. So, attack for 6, put you to 7. Dilks with a big draw. That will work.
Yeah, that's good enough.
Because Vesuva enters the battlefield. Well, it will copy Teleria West.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah, and so you get your amulet triggers. 4. This should be 6. It's a Hive Mind. Hive Mind's going to resolve. Dilks doing the math, playing to the math very well. This is going to be a Thought Scour in response here by Corrigan. Bolt and Serum Visions into the grave. Pyromancer's Ascension added to the hand. Show you a Summoner's Pact. That is going to do it. Matthew Dilks is going to steal this one. Up a game over Abe Corrigan. Amulet Titan. slowly but surely up a game over Is It Phoenix.
That's a dispiriting loss there for Corrigan because Dilks' draw is not going to get a whole lot worse than that.
No, I don't think it will, unfortunately.
And he had Primeval Titan covered too.
Yeah, he really, really did.
Well, maybe, I guess, with the two amulets, maybe it's tricky. But in any event, Hive Mind easily gets it done there.
Sideboard time, folks. We're going to take a look at Abe Corrigan first. He'll be on the play. He's got an R-Set, Parter Avails, a Pia, a Kieran Nalar, 2 Abrades, 2 Alpine Moons, 2 Anger of the Gods, 2 Blood Moons, 2 Saheeli, Sublime Artificer, 2 Spell Pierce, and a Lightning Axe.
So I like the Abrades and the Blood Moons as a ways to interact with the creatures. Or Amulet and Blood Moon obviously shuts down a lot of Dilks' shenanigans. I don't know if you want to go to something like Spell Pierce here. It's got moments of being good. It also is quite bad a lot of the time. But the first 4 are very easy to bring in.
We're going over to Dilks now. He's got 3 Abrades, 2 Spell Pierces of his own, 2 Flusterstorms, 2 Fire Spouts, pardon me, a Tireless Tracker, a Rook Taw, a Reclamation Sage, a Ramineth Excavator, a Negate, a Hornet Queen, an Engineer Explosives, and a Solo Cavernous.
So when we watched Dilks play against Is It Phoenix earlier, he at least brought in the Spell Pierces, and I assume we can safely bring in Negate as well. I like Reclamation Sage and Warwick Thar, and maybe even Hornet Queen as additional targets for Summoner's Pact.
I like Hornet Queen.
Yeah, does a lot of blocking.
I like me a Busy Bee.
The Reclamation Sage gives you some insurance against Blood Moon, and Warwick Thar is not the easiest card for Corrigan to play through.
This is when things get fun, folks, when the 2 best here on the SCD Tour get squared up against each other. Abe Corrigan, number 1 on the SCD Tour leaderboard versus number 2, Matthew Dilks. Rarely do we get to see these kind of pairings line up this way, but we had to bring it to you when it did, and it was a great first game, unsurprisingly, between these 2 great players. We're going to watch game number 2 in just a sec, but let's talk about the StarCityGames.com weekly sale, where you can save on hundreds of new singles through Monday. But we change it every single Monday, so make sure you get this page bookmarked. That's go.starcitygames.com/sale. This week, we got a box topper of Lord of Extinction, Yawgmoth's Bargain, Mana Crypt, and Yuriko the Tiger Shadow, among many others. Again, go.starcitygames.com/sale. And Patrick even picked up some cards here this weekend for himself, as he always does.
Not on sale, these ones. They weren't on sale, but they weren't that expensive.
You had to pay full price for those Gurmag Anglers. Isn't that card a common?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, that was on the cheap.
They all were.
What else you get?
Some Stubborn Denials, some Thought Scours.
For your
Battle Rage.
For your next Death Shadow tournament that you're never playing.
Yeah.
Which will be your first Death Shadow tournament.
Right. I would like to pick it up with 0 games. It's a very simple deck to play.
Super easy.
Super easy to play.
Yeah. Can confirm. Matthew Dilks steals game number 1. Abe Corrigan will be on the play for game number 2. Ideally have some more interaction. And don't forget, tomorrow, we're going to be back here at 10 a.m. Eastern. We're going to come in here a little early, get all those day 2 deck lists typed up for you. We'll set those live after round number 15. We'll cover 6 rounds. We'll make a cut to the top 8. And these players will duke it out. And there's going to be a lot of SCG points on the line tomorrow, my friends. That is for sure. Should be a pretty tight cut with 711 players here. And we've also got some classics for players to play here, too. So solid attendance here at the Louisville Convention Center, and a very important day number 2 of competition. One could argue the most important day number 2 of competition here in 2019 on the SCD Tour thus far.
Well, now that the standings are firmed up, and a lot of our players who are in striking distance or are trying to preserve their spot in the top 3, they're doing well, playing in day 2 or hoping to play in day number 2 after this round's over.
Both these players are going to take a look at their opening hands. Dilks has seems like a decent hand. He's got a Zuza. I know he doesn't like the mulligan hands like this. He's got a Zuza, got Primeval Titan, Walking Ballista for maybe a little bit of interaction.
Is there a force in that hand? I guess if you have a concern with this one is that the hand's a bit vulnerable to Blood Moon.
He's got basic forest.
I know, you don't have an answer to it, though, and the rest of your hand doesn't really play all that well in the face of it, but this seems like a fine 7-card hand.
I don't think he's going to throw.
It's not perfect, but well above the line to keep.
Yeah. Corrigan's going to start things off with a Serum Vision. Scry 2, Thing in the Ice among the cards he's looking at on the Scry. He'll split the difference on the Scry. We're going to head back over to Dilks. Dilks with just a Teleria West. Now here's Abe with a Thing in the Ice. Good card in this matchup, especially good on the play on turn number 2 as we head back over to Matthew. Gemstone Mine, and he'll simply pass the turn back. So it's a slow start. But we saw his opening hand, so we had a feeling it would be.
Yeah, if he has land number 3, his basic forest, and then Azusa, he gets at least some acceleration the next turn. Doesn't really want to play the Gruul Turf right now because he'd have to discard a hand size, and it would be super bad in the face of Blood Moon.
And this is Manamorphose to start. Thing in the Ice will slide down to 3 counters. Looks like a blue and a red floating, and it'll be a Thought Scour. So now just red floating, Thing in the Ice, down to 2 counters. So 2 cards will go away. 1 card added. No land drop yet here for Corrigan. He'll sacrifice a Scalding Tarn, get himself a basic island, setting himself up nicely if Blood Moon shows up. And this is a sleight of hand. There's still a red mana floating. An island and a polluted delta. Not exactly what the doctor ordered. And delta on the bottom, I believe island in hand now. And is there a red spell to play? Well, there's a lightning bolt. Hey, this isn't bad. This is 10 total damage on turn 3.
You might be presenting a turn 4 clock here. Doesn't take a whole lot of help here. Just anything that deals 3 the next turn, assuming your Awoken Horror sticks around and can hit again. That's lethal. That's about as fast as he can get.
It's Bolt and Phoenix and all that stuff. So let's head back over to Dilks. Let's see what he can put together now. He'll play a basic forest. Gemstone Mine's going to fall down to 2. This is Azusa, Lost But Seeking. The follow-up is a Simic Growth Chamber. There will be a trigger, pick up Teleria West. He's got 1 more land drop left in him. And that'll be Gruul Turf. Pick up a Gemstone Mine. He's threatening Titan next turn. And we know he's already got it in his hand. He'll leave those face up, I believe. Well, face up long enough for Corrigan to write him down, and we'll head back over to Abe. I got to imagine that Azusa is blocking this turn. Though Corrigan's hand is not cooperating all that much. Steam Vents might be the play untapped. Let's see here. It'll be a Pyromancer's Ascension first. This will be a Serum Visions. Counter there. Draw. Scry 2. Blood Moon is a little late. And it might be too late. Now, what's somewhat fascinating about this to me, as Corrigan has done all of this stuff, was Dilks going to 100% block? The answer is yes. Steam Vent enters the battlefield tapped, and let's go back over to Matthew now.
Yeah, I guess if the other card on the top of your deck is Sleight of Hand, you can leave the Blood Moon on top as an option in the event that the game breaks that way, and you can get off the hook for it if it doesn't look that way.
Prime time, baby. Let's see what the plan is here for Dilks. Colony Garden might work itself into the equation. Bojuka Bog, Radiant Fountain. Which 2 lands does he want? Bojuka Bog, Colony Garden. Graveyard's gone. 0-1 plant token on the way that can do some chump blocking in front of that Thing in the Ice. Because as good as the Awoken Horror / Thing in the Ice is, doesn't trample.
Great set of cards there for Dilks to get. 1 covers him against Pyromancer Ascension and maybe other implications, and then a chump blocker for Awoken Horror.
We are heading back over now to Abe Corrigan, who does have a sleight of hand.
Paging Magic player Vincent Marucci, if you are still Marucci,
He'll start there. Arc Light Phoenix and Blood Moon.
And the game broke in such a way that Blood Moon's not the worst here. It's at least, you're at least in a holding pattern for a little while. Probably still a very bad position for Corrigan, but
there's your straightforward block.
I mean, if you attacked in that spot, this is the plan here. You're just hoping that the Primeval Titan, if Blood Moon sticks, that Dilks just can't do anything that powerful with the Primeval Titan. You're ahead 17-10, plus you have the largest creature on the battlefield, and you can just manage a short-term damage race.
Back to Dilks. 19-10 in favor of Abe right now. Let's see what Matthew can do here. Remember, he's had a walking ballista in his hand the entire game, and he'll draw. Gemstone Mine is a mountain right now. Primeval Titan looks like it's ready to attack. Not going to win by sitting back. So there will be a trigger. Dilks will search up 2 lands. Corrigan's going to take 6, of course, and fall down to 13. Right now, Dilks has more forests, given that Primeval Titan trigger. It's a basic forest, and now he's gotten 2 more. So he has access to a little more green mana the following turn, not that much on this turn.
Yeah, could come up if Hornet Queen is something that he has.
See how Dilks wants to maneuver now. He does have Walking Ballista. Not much past that. Looks like he might be making this for 3.
Yeah, tapping out for Ballista is not the safest play here. You get killed by 2 bolts or bolt plus Phoenix. Although, you know, it's not the easiest thing for Corrigan to put all that together with you know, only a few cards in hand and Pyromancer Ascension pretty far away from being able to do anything.
Gruul Turf enters the battlefield untapped because the Blood Moon that's out there. So we head back over to Abe. Thing in the Ice, and I believe, is that an Abrade?
I believe so.
It is, yeah. So there is Thing in the Ice. Here comes Abrade. We'll get a response here from Dilks, of course. That 3 damage has got to go somewhere. Most likely Corrigan's face to tie up the game.
Not a bad turn in terms of damage racing here. Clear out the blocker and have a chump blocker on the way back. Again, if you're in Corrigan's position, you know for sure if the Blood Moon gets destroyed, that's the end of the game. But if Dilks has to hang back on defense, he has nothing good to go get, you could win the game potentially next turn.
Big draw here for Dilks. How'd he do? Well, he's reaching. Was it maybe a Summoner's Pact?
Well, Summoner's Pact makes this very easy if that's the card.
He'll play a Simic Growth Chamber. It was a Trinket Mage. Huh. Here's Faithless Looting. This will probably find, this will find Corrigan some goodies.
It's very hard for Corrigan to miss from this spot. I mean,
so.
land plus cantrip gets the Thing in the Ice transformed. Flashback to Faithless Looting.
Here's a Braid. Pyromancer's Ascension has come online, and now there is Thought Scour, and Matthew Dilks is going to pick them all up as Abe Corrigan will tie things up between he and Matthew Dilks. Number 1 and number 2, they're throwing haymakers at each other, my friend.
That was a good one. Dilks' list, you know, he doesn't have Coalition Relic, I believe, and just a 7/8 plus Blood Moon. It's a tough mixture of cards for him to beat. He can't really damage race under the Blood Moon. He can't, you know, Corrigan in that spot has total agency over the way the combat looks, offense or defense. He can manage it both ways and was able to squeak that one out before Dilks found an answer.
Oh, man. 3rd and final one. I'm looking forward to this. That is for sure. You got Nick Miller hanging out there in the feature match area. Keep an eye on things as number 1 and number 2 are squaring off. They're both thinking about if they want to change anything in the sideboard. Both these players are going to be in day number 2 regardless of what happens. So maybe we see them square off again in the top 8. And of course, we've got that Season 1 Invitational Weekend taking place in just 2 weeks at the Berglund Center in Roanoke, Virginia. So maybe we see them square off there as well. Who knows? But it's always great to watch 2 of the very best here in 2019 on the SCG Tour do battle, and it has not disappointed thus far. That is for sure. Don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, though. Or maybe I do. Maybe I do want to talk about Season 2 here on the SCG Tour, which will be here before you know it. We're going to kick it off, you and I,
Yes.
along with Brian Gottlieb and Craig Krempels in Pittsburgh.
Out of retirement.
And back in the saddle. Should be good.
Be a pleasure. Then July, we got Worcester, Philly, and Columbus. Full month with standard, team constructed, and modern. August, Richmond and Dallas, team constructed and modern there. September, just one open, Syracuse, Legacy, will be there. Then formats, as of right now, unannounced, still sorting that out, but in October, we'll be in Philadelphia, first weekend, then Indianapolis. After that, the regional championship. Go.scggames.com/regionals for more information as we get a little bit closer to the event. Then we round out October with the last open, which will be in Atlanta, October 26th and 27th. November, December, one event a month, but they're big ones. SCGCon Winter, featuring the Star City Games Invitational, November 14th through 17th, and then we round out the year what we're playing for the Players' Championship, December 13th through the 15th.
Playmats, we showed them a little earlier today. We'll show you them again. Captain's Quarters, drawn by Titus Lunter. Little pirate ship action there as far as standard open and classic players. Aurora's Lights, illustrated by John Avon. Perhaps you've heard of him for our modern open and classic players. And last but certainly not least, it is Ripped from Reality, illustrated by Mark. How do you pronounce Mark's last name?
Teden, I believe?
Teden, thank you. I want to make sure I don't get that wrong. Minotaur is going through a lot right there. That is for sure. For our Legacy, Classic, and Open players, free exclusive playmats designed specifically for the SCG Tour. You won't find them anywhere else, with entry into an Open, Classic, Infinite Challenge package, or Sealed Spectacular package. Go.starcitygames.com/schedule. Mark your calendars. Hopefully we'll see you there. We're getting ready here for game number 3 between Matthew Dilks and Abe Corrigan. Amulet Titan, Is It Phoenix? Maybe the 2 best decks in the format. Should be good. Should be a good game number 3.
Dilks has yet to have one of his very fast starts. Been turn 3, turn 4 before anything was really going on. See here if Dilks in game number 3 on the play can put together one of those explosive amulet draws.
You know, game 1 he had the 2 amulets, but nothing really explosive going on. Able to win that game though. Let's see what Dilks is able to put together here. This one looks like it's got a Titan. It could develop another Titan. I like that he soul rolls himself. Good sweat is always appreciated. Well, he's going to keep.
Great looking hand.
I already know he's going to keep.
Forest plus the Engineer Explosives means he's got some cover against Blood Moon. Some stuff to play for, and Azusa in the middle, some Primeval Titans on top. Draw some mana. This hand comes together very nicely.
Yeah, I know. Matt's got a philosophy, at least as far as I know thus far, is, a hand like this, it might not be the fastest, but he's not going to send it back. He's got Titans, plural, and he's got Azusa.
Yep.
And he can just go from there. He's going to play a Gruul Turf and pass the turn back.
Had that experience a lot playing with Sneak and Show, and I think Amulet Titan's similar. Of very few of your opening hands are going to be completely rolled up. You're going to be missing a piece. But with Sneak and Show, you have all these cantrips to find it, and in this instance, and in a lot of instances, what Dilks is missing is mana, and you have a lot of draw steps to find lands.
Back over to Abe Corrigan we go. He did a little bit of opting, and now we'll see what his second turn will yield. It's a mountain, and this is a Manamorphose. A little red, a little blue. Another Manamorphose, okay. He does have the Blood Moon in hand, this Corrigan. Spell Pierce 2. Serum Visions, couple of lands. He'll play a Serum Visions, has a red mana floating. He'll draw, he'll scry 2. Arclight Phoenix, hello.
Is there a looting to tie this all together?
It doesn't look like it.
And he has a Thought Scour, but no blue mana floating.
Wants to make sure he's happy with how he set the scry, which he is. And he'll pass. No more mana floating. All right, Matty. How explosive can you be? Forest. Azusa. Ooh, the fact that that land is a forest is huge. Two basic forests on the battlefield to combat the Blood Moon. That is a big deal. Don't want to ignore that Cavern of Souls either. That's naming Giant. That's the thing that could come up in the sideboarded games. You never know. Corrigan's going to start with his third Metamorphose of the game. He'll draw. Blue-red floating. Here is the Blood Moon. He's going to sacrifice the fetch land. Probably search up a basic island. There it is.
Yeah, it's not ideal here for Corrigan because of the 2 forests, but it does stem off the worst of what next turn can offer.
Back to Dilks. I suppose it is worth noting that the Blood Moon slows down the Gruul Turf.
Yes.
So now Dilks needs 2 lands to be able to play a Titan. He's going to start by attacking with Azusa. Corrigan's going to fall down to 17. Does Dilks have 2 lands to play? He does not. All he has is a Walking Ballista. He actually has no lands to play.
Very good news for Corrigan.
If you're Abe, you got to be thrilled with that. Blood Moon continues to be a thorn in the side of the Amulet Titan players. Here is Opt. Scry 1. Top becomes the bottom. Mystery card coming. It's a Spell Pierce. That's a Thought Scour. He'll target himself. Phoenix and Sleight of Hand go to the graveyard. That's spell 2. He'll draw. Remember, Corrigan top 8'd last weekend when we were in Syracuse. He's looking to go back-to-back here, and his day 1 is off to a great start, and he might be moving on to 8-1 thanks to that powerful enchantment.
Can he put together the 3rd spell, though? So
play a Spire Bluff Canal. That does enter the battlefield untapped because of the Blood Moon. You see him acknowledge that right away. Noxious Survival answers that question there for you, partner. He can. He'll fall down to 15. I just got to figure out what he wants to target. Looks like he's going to go with Metamorphose on the Noxious Survival. Arclight Phoenix will come back. But it's unclear if it will attack.
I don't know how much there's to be gained by hitting back on defense here, because if Dilks can't do anything with his turn, what he can do is just pump the Ballista up with 4 mana and then shoot the Phoenix twice and still have the Ballista left.
Mm-hmm. We're going back to Matthew Dilks. He's got a Simic Growth Chamber, Summoner's Pact. Now this is interesting, I think. He may have just drawn the Summoner's Pact, perhaps. That means he might be able to get out from underneath this Blood Moon.
Yeah, I mean, if he's brought in the Reclamation Sage, then...
And we know he's got the Sage in the board. Can't imagine he'd leave home without it. Pact finds Rex Sage. Rex Sage comes down, blows up that Blood Moon, and then you've got a Simic Growth Chamber in hand. Okay, well he's going to do this. Is it time for him to actually do this right now?
Doesn't have to. I mean, what's happening on the board is not... Where's the rush coming from?
Yeah.
If you want to, you can just shoot down the Phoenix, keep your Ballista around, pass, and turn can go back to Corrigan. He's got a full hand, but it's not really doing anything. There's also, you kind of want to do everything in one turn.
Mm-hmm.
You want to Reclamation Sage, and now with the leftover mana, have this explosive turn.
I think it's also interesting, too, that he can Rex Sage here and still pump up Ballista.
Yeah.
Because of the 2 bounce lands. So that's an interesting dimension that's been added to this turn.
Yeah, the Growth Chamber enters the battlefield untapped as a mountain because of Blood Moon. But if the Blood Moon goes away, now it is what it is.
Most decks not really able to take advantage of that, but this is a situation where Dilks potentially takes huge advantage of that.
Yeah.
All right, 3 mana. Reclamation Sage. It's going to resolve. See you later, Blood Moon. Looks has got something else coming here. EE. Looks like it's going to be for 2.
It's not a bad spot to land. It covers you against Sling in the Ice, Pyromancer Ascension.
Also covers you around Spell Pierce.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. You can now he has to consider Spell Pierce because he's unlocked the Spire Bluff Canal.
Corrigan, for those of you wondering at home, if you didn't notice, he's got 2 Spell Pierces in hand. And he's also got 2 Primeval Titans in hand as Dilks. So Dilks' hand is good. Corrigan's hand seems fine. Working ourselves into a pretty interesting mid-game.
Yeah, this seems like that Dilks is slow playing things just a little bit, but he's at 20. You know, he's got some room to breathe, especially with the now Resolved Engineer Explosive, which cuts out Corrigan's 2 best paths of applying pressure, Pyromancer Ascension and Thing in the Ice. So you know you can untap, pay for Pact. The next turn you have 7 mana at least to work with. You go from there. We're not used to the game taking this slow of a tenor. Usually it's a very fast race, but Dilks is a little bit of breathing room.
Well, he wants to speed things up. He's going to play an Arclight Phoenix and come across here for 4. Dilks is going to fall down to 14. Dilks is going to have to remember to pay his Pact. I'd be shocked if he forgot, and he didn't. He'll use the bounce lands to do so. He'll do some attacking now. Reclamation Sage, Walking Ballista, and Azusa will come into the red zone. It's getting interesting out here.
Yeah, Dilks has the out here, buying himself a little bit of time by just cashing in the Ballista on one of the Phoenixes once Corrigan moves into combat. He can also fall to 8. It's not the safest life total, but it's pretty unlikely you get killed from that position.
That takes triple bolt. And you would think that if Corrigan had a bolt, he probably would have cast at least one.
Well, it's more complicated because of the Noxus Revivals in the list.
Okay.
It makes it so Corrigan can sort of backdoor more of these combo kill sequences through cantrips, not just extra copies of Lightning Bolt.
Sure. No, that makes sense.
If you have a Lightning Bolt, now Noxus Revival turns Opt into another Bolt. So he's got kind of more looks at it than the normal lists do that don't have Noxus Revival. I don't know if it's enough to tip Dilks to make a play he otherwise wouldn't against a different list, but it's something to keep in mind.
Well, here's Thing in the Ice. Manamorphose is going to bring it down to 3. Serum Vision's the draw. 2 blue floating here for Corrigan. It's going to be 1 now as there is a Serum Visions. Draw a card. Manamorphose.
You might be wondering why is Dilks allowing all this? He's actually happy with Awoken Horror transforming in this spot. He gets back a creature with a summon trigger. The Arclight Phoenixes go away for a little while. My initial instinct was to stop it right now in response to the Manamorphose and get that thing off the battlefield. And Dilks might say that this Thing in the Ice might be more tricky for Corrigan to work around than it is for Dilks.
Interesting. There's Manamorphose. It's down to 1 counter.
Well, if you want to do something about it now, this is your time. There's no mana in the pool.
Dilks is thinking pretty long and hard about this one.
Dilks giving him this. Seems really bad for you to transform this pre-combat. What is going on over there? And if you want to tap out and have major land drop, have no mana floating, passing back to me with Thing of the Ice with 1 counter on it, great.
Dilks has been very patient here, where I think most players would have blown up that EE by now.
Yeah, taking the time to actually look at what's happening, because Thing of the Ice is one of the best cards against them. The bounce matters, it's the best source of pressure, and Dilks preemptively put an Engineer Explosive at 2. It's really easy in that spot just to say, all right, great, the card's lined up the right way, kill your Thing of the Ice. But I think Dilks understands that Corrigan is a little jammed up here.
Now, once we go to combat, that mana's gone. So the 2 blue, that's, yep, Dilks points that out immediately, and now he might have interest in blowing that up. Who knows?
Well, yeah, it's much safer to do inside of combat because then the Arc-like Phoenixes are back.
Yep.
Even if Corrigan has a gut shot, who really cares?
So Corrigan is going to deal 3. Spire Bluff and honors the battlefield tapped. And we are going to go over to Matthew Dilks, and he's going to get the opportunity, potentially, to resolve a Primeval Titan. Multiple Titans in hand, forced the draw. To note, Dilks has not played a land yet this turn, and he gets 3 land drops. And he knows all the puzzles with this crazy deck.
Well, he doesn't have any way to give Primeval Titan haste.
I'm sure he does.
He doesn't have a way to untap the lands.
You play... Okay, you might be right. You might be right. You might be right.
Next turn gets really good. This turn he's just, got to set up shop a little bit. It typically requires Amulet to do everything in one burst.
Here's prime time. Bojuka Bog, Radiant Fountain? Nailed it. Hit me.
Good hit. Good hit.
And he kills... Oh, I like the Bojuka Bog with the trigger on the stack. Use your Ballista to take care of the Phoenix. That Phoenix is gone for good now. Gain a little bit of life.
Knocks his revival into backdoor kills now off the table. Dilks at a comfortable 13. I think we're going to be getting this one done on Dilks' next turn.
Start things off with a Thought Scour. A Braid and Faithless Looting go to the graveyard. Corrigan going to take a look at his sideboard, see what the options are in there, too. Two mana. Pyromancer's Ascension. This is a Thought Scour. That's a trigger. 1, 2. Okay. Found another Ascension. And that's going to do it. Matthew Dilks is going to win this game and match over Abe Corrigan. 2-1. Number 2 takes care of number 1. And for Matthew Dilks with Amulet Titan, he's looking for a 3rd modern top 8 this season with